WLNS is here for you with 6 News at 11.
The latest efforts by the Department of Government Efficiency to shrink the federal government are causing confusion in Washington and could impact us directly right here in mid-Michigan. It's our top story at 11. Thank you for joining us. I'm Siobhan Klepfer. Sherry Jones has the night off. We'll get back to that story in just a moment. But first, more than 400 BWL customers in South Lansing are in the dark right now. That outage is centered around the intersection of Waverly and Jolly Roads. And at its peak, more than 1,600 customers were affected. It began around 9:22 p.m. Lansing Township Police on the scene have not yet confirmed the cause of the outage, but 6 News was able to see at least one badly damaged vehicle, and neighbors say the outage could be related to this crash. The Lansing Board of Water and Light plans to have the power back on by 1:30 this morning. Now back to tonight's top story. The Department of Government Efficiency is listing what it claims are major cuts to federal spending on a special website. Among them is the closure of a Social Security Administration office in Okemos. The department's website claims it is terminating that office to save on the cost of the lease. And that's listed as $109,000 per year, or about $545,000 over the course of a 5-year lease. It is not clear exactly what office the department is referring to, since no address is given, and the Social Security office does not list any offices in Okemos. The nearest office is in South Lansing. In the meantime, millions of federal workers are still in murky water over demands by Elon Musk to report back, listing their accomplishments for the week or potentially lose their jobs. Erica Brown has the latest.
President Trump signed executive orders at the White House targeting possible tariffs on copper and reviewing security clearances for employees of a law firm who worked with special counsel Jack Smith's team.
Who would like this pen? Hey, why don't you send it to Jack Smith?
Trump then doubled down on Elon Musk's directive to federal employees, asking them to list 5 things they accomplished last week.
And if they don't write back, they end up eventually losing their job.
The White House says more than 1 million workers have already complied, and extensions for those who have not yet responded will be allowed. Some federal employees who were recently laid off took to Capitol Hill to protest the cuts to lawmakers.
We're going to head up to the first office, and you're going to tell your story, and then we're going to go to the next office, and then we'll just keep going on.
In the Oval Office, President Trump also proposed a, quote, route to citizenship in the U.S., a gold card for wealthy individuals with a $5 million price tag.
They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful.
The administration says applicants will be vetted, and the program will launch in about 2 weeks. Erica Brown, CBS News, the White House.
Staying with national news, Republicans in the U.S. House managed to pass a huge budget bill today, and it includes spending cuts of up to $2 trillion. However, according to The Hill, the bill would also allow up to $4.5 trillion in tax cuts and increase border and defense spending by $300 billion, meaning the deficit is likely to grow. The bill includes a $4 trillion increase on the U.S. debt limit. One Republican representative and every Democrat voted against this bill, meaning it passed by the narrowest possible margin.
This is the first important step in opening up the reconciliation process. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we are going to deliver the America First agenda.
Hospitals will bear this burden. It also slashes SNAP, taking food off the plates for seniors, veterans, and kids, all to fund tax breaks for billionaires like Elon Musk while increasing our national deficit by trillions of dollars.
The budget bill now goes to the U.S. Senate for review. Well, as we mentioned earlier, President Donald Trump says he wants to replace the existing visa program for investors and let foreigners buy a green card for $5 million. So what will that look like? Well, in 1990, Congress enacted the EB-5 visa, which is available to people who spend at least $1 million on a company that employs at least 10 people. The goal was to generate investment and job creation in the United States. Thousands of people enter the U.S. every year on that visa, but the total number is capped. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says in 2 weeks, this will be replaced with the Trump Gold Card. It's actually a green card allowing permanent legal residency in the United States with a pathway to citizenship at a price of $5 million. The president speculated that the U.S. could sell millions of these gold cards. Well, turning now to state politics, a slate of bills introduced in the Michigan House of Representatives today is designed to promote nuclear energy. These bills, which have bipartisan support, would create a corporate income tax credit for research and development into nuclear reactors, incentives to attract and retain nuclear power professionals, and even education grant programs to train the next generation of nuclear engineers. These bills would apply to both modern nuclear fission and radioisotope power plants, as well as theoretical fusion power plants that are still being developed by scientists around the world. Those aren't the only bills dealing with education in the State House tonight. Another bipartisan bill introduced today would update the health class curriculum to teach more students about emergency medical care. The bill would expand the current guidelines for health ed to strongly encourage training in CPR, bleeding control, tourniquets, and other first aid devices. School districts would be encouraged to develop instruction to meet content standards for professional nurses. Well, separately, a group of House Republicans introduced a bill today that would reverse course on the state's recent move to require egg-laying chickens to be kept cage-free. That means they cannot be kept in so-called battery cages and must be allowed to move around. That requirement went into effect at the start of this year, but under this bill, hens could still be kept in cages until 2029. Critics have blamed that ban for contributing to the higher price of eggs. Supporters of cage-free chickens say battery cages are inhumane and increase the risk of spreading diseases like bird flu. Every summer, toxic algae blooms close down lakes and beaches in Michigan and around the country. Well, now some Spartan researchers are giving us a closer look at the factors contributing to that problem. The MSU scientists created new ways to analyze publicly available data and satellite imagery from the past 34 years covering 24,000 U.S. lakes. In doing so, they found patterns that help explain the impact of individual factors, including climate and human activity. And this insight will help inform efforts to prevent algae blooms in the future and prepare for the impacts of climate change.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Weather First, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
Another very gorgeous and sunny day for us here in mid-Michigan with some really impressive high temperatures. We made it up to a high of 51 degrees here in Lansing. Happens to be one of the coolest high temperatures that we have seen in mid-Michigan today, because compare that to 55 degrees, the reported high temperature in Jackson, Hillsdale, and 54 the high temperature over in Marshall. As an added bonus to those incredibly warm spring-like temperatures, we did see a beautiful sunset across the area today. Take a look at this time lapse from our Jackson camera. You can see that sun beginning to set on the horizon, absolutely lighting up in those beautiful shades of yellow and orange. And then of course you can see that cloud cover beginning to increase before of course night begins to set in. In terms of temperatures across the area right now, still fairly mild for this time of year. We're at 31 degrees here in Jackson, wind still incredibly calm across the area, and that will allow for at least some patchy fog to settle in by the time we start the day tomorrow. We're at 34 degrees here in Lansing. Winds currently out of the northwest at 6 miles per hour, and a very similar situation over in Grand Ledge. Still above the freezing mark at this point in time, but of course not by much. 33 for our current temperature, and that peak wind gust of 21 miles per hour. Live look over in downtown Hillsdale, still dry as of right now, but the chance for precipitation will be increasing overnight tonight, and it will begin to move in as we move into the day tomorrow. Again, satellite and radar shows that area of low pressure still beginning to develop to our west. As that system tracks closer, it will be increasing a cloud cover across mid-Michigan overnight tonight. We will likely wake up to just a couple of sprinkles as we start off our Wednesday, but the bulk of this precipitation will be moving in late Wednesday morning. We're talking right around 9, 10, maybe 11 o'clock. And as Precision Cast shows, as it initially moves in, temperatures will still be cool enough to allow for maybe a couple of wet snowflakes to mix in with these rain showers. But I will say temperatures will very quickly warm. It does look like this is going to be mostly a rain event for us here in mid-Michigan on Wednesday. Thursday, a little bit of a different situation as we have some cooler temperatures working their way in. High temperatures on Thursday still going to be in the low 40s, so impacts going to be incredibly minimal. And by the time we get into the afternoon hours of the day, I do think it'll be more of a wintry mix of rain and snow across the area. For tonight, again, smooth sailing, but you will notice it will be chilly as we start off our Wednesday, with temperatures falling down into the upper 20s. As we go throughout the day, again, the chance for rain will be increasing, but high temperatures will stay in the low 40s. It'll be a very similar situation for Thursday. Again, a couple of wet snowflakes mixing in with those rain showers because of the cooler temperatures that we will have aloft in the upper portions of the atmosphere. Friday, we are dry, a high of 46 degrees, so another perfect day to enjoy before we actually get into the weekend, which is going to be a little bit less ideal, highs in the low 30s. But of course, we balance that out with highs in the mid to upper 40s yet again next Tuesday and the following Wednesday.
Yeah, we might wake up in the next, 10 days less than with no snow on the ground, Kendall.
I know, and at least for me, we all know that's a welcome sight. But I mean, what little snow that we will see, just make sure you enjoy it.
All right, Kendall, thank you. Well, coming up here on 6 News at 11, there is a growing divide among leaders in Washington about how to end the war in Ukraine and which side the U.S. should support. We'll hear from both sides next.